Hello and welcome back to the garden. The temperatures are certainly starting to drop at the minute, but there's still lots to do in the garden. Autumn is the time of year to start preparing for the season ahead. So with that, this week we're going to look at bulbs. We're going to look at snowdrop bulbs and planting daffs in your borders. So let's head up to the flower border and take a look at the daffodils. So now is the time to plant daffodil bulbs. So you can plant them in pots or in borders. And what you can do is you can lay them out in clumps like we've done there, so in a clump of 3. Or you can do them in a swathe of a pretty border, how you want, but avoid planting them in singles unless you're doing them in really small pots. So all you need to do is dig a hole and you go in double the depth of the bulb. Now if you can't remember where you've got bulbs from last year, the best thing to do is to look at your pictures and just see where you've got things growing last spring. There is always the chance that you still won't remember where things are and you may dig them up. So if you do, just pop them back and replot where you put in your daffodils. So you're going to double the depth, just like that, and then all you've got to do is just fill that hole back in, and that will give you some brilliant spring colour early on in the season. So it's just started raining here, so we're going to get on and get the rest of the border planted up with the daffs. Now I love snowdrops, but year after year I've been unsuccessfully growing them in the border. So this year I'm going to try something different. So let's go and take a look. So now we're going to be planting snowdrop bulbs. The ideal time to plant them out is between now and the end of November. These will flower January to March time and give you that burst of colour really early on in the new year. Now they are a hardy perennial, so they don't need to go into the greenhouse, they can stay outside. But they need to be planted into well drained soil. So I've got a multi-purpose compost with added horticultural grit of a mix of about 70 to 30. I've been really unsuccessful in growing them in my borders for the last 4 or 5 years, and I think it's because of the soil. It's quite clayey where I want to put them. They need to be kept moist over winter, but you shouldn't need to give them any extra watering because the weather should do that for you. Then they need to be planted in dappled shade, which is why you normally see them under shrubs or at the front of borders, especially in woodland, because that's where they like to grow in the natural habitat. Now they can be grown in pots, but they need to be kept moist over the summer if you do that. Like I say, they're difficult to grow from bulb, but you can plant them out as green plants. So in the new year when they grow and you've got the flowers, you can plant them out into the border then. Then when they die back, they should grow back the following year. They need to be divided every 3 or 4 years, so as they get a bit bigger you can divide them and split them around the garden to give you more plants for what you've got already. I can't wait to see the flicker of the white colour that just gives you that burst of energy in the new year. So what I'm going to do is, to have the best chance of getting some plants this year, is I'm going to grow them in pots to start with, and then I'll plant them out in the new year. So I've got different sized pots. That one's a little bit bigger and that one's a bit smaller. Now they are quite small, but you don't want to do them as single bulbs, otherwise all you're going to get is a single plant. And that's fine if you just want to have a show specimen of a single snowdrop, but if you want a display, fill the pot with compost about 1/3 of the way up. Now as with most bulbs, they need to be planted at least double the depth. So it's pointy end up and flat side down. That's the one thing to remember for all bulbs. So just nestle them into the soil. Now all I'm doing is just putting them around the edge of the pot, quite close together, because I want to get the most out of them as I can. I'm just going to put one in the centre there. Then all I'm going to do is just top that up with soil, just so it's about double the depth from where that bulb is. Now what you can do if you want to, is you can just finish this pot off with some horticultural grit or vermiculite across the top, just to give it that, just makes it look a bit tidier, but it'll also stop the water splashing up when you do get the young plants. So that's the bigger pot. And what I'm going to do is the same in the smaller pots. I'm going to try and fill them as much as I can. I want to get the best display as possible out of these pots, and then when they're planted out into the border they'll look really good in their nice little clumps. So again, that's quite a full pot. I'm not going to put one in the centre of that one. And again, it's just finish it off with just that compost. Don't need to press it down firmly, just make sure it's all covered and you can't see the bulbs. So I'm going to carry on with the rest of these and get these finished off. Then all I'm going to do is put them out into the garden, just stand them on some gravel, on a gravel bed, and just wait till the green shoots come up in the new year. So why don't you have a go at planting snowdrops? Sadly, that's all we've got time for today. There's links at the end to previous week's episodes so you can get caught up with the jobs if you've got behind. There's also the links for Facebook and Instagram where there's more hints and tips and updates of what's going on at the patch. Other than that, we'll see you back in the garden next Wednesday.